reunited, and it feels so good. All three of us are back this week, ready to talk some college football. A busy weekend, a lot of unexpected outcomes. A great weekend for college football. I don't think there's really been a bad one so far. We've been blessed this season, honestly, with so much good football. But fellas, how you doing?
Great, man. Doing good. Had a wedding over the weekend, but tried to not let that get in the way too much. Try to consume as much ball as possible. Had to give the alma mater its due, and watched that instead of the Falcons game. So
Yeah, good choice.
Good
yeah,
choice.
yeah.
Smart
I
man.
kept up with the game, but I was the best man. Had to give some speeches, so I was a little busy. But overall, good weekend, doing
Yeah.
good.
Mr. White, glad to have you back.
Yes, sir. Good to be back. A little out of pocket. Just traveling, seeing the world. But this week I'm back. I got a cerveza. Ready to talk some ball.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get into it.
Nothing better. I love it. We're going to hop straight in, as we always do, Dogs of the Week. There's a lot of choices this week. We're all Georgia fans. We're refraining from taking a Georgia player each because I think we probably could. There was some very good performances. However, I do think there is one Georgia Bulldog somewhere in the mix. You'll have to stick around and find out, though. I can get us started off. I am taking it over to another game in the SEC just a little earlier in the day. Tennessee and Alabama. I'm taking Dylan Sampson. Now, this is a good line. Maybe not Ashton Jeanty-esque, but it's kind of hard to match that. And when you're playing a team like Alabama, even if they're kind of having, a down year, a few down games, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns is still pretty impressive. And, Tennessee did what they needed to do. They played their game, and they beat Alabama at home. Yep. We'd been talking about this game a few weeks up until this point, and I think I had mentioned before that I think everybody knew that Tennessee had this one circled on their calendars. This is kind of a dogfight for each of these teams to stay alive. I won't get too into it. We're gonna recap it later, but
Yep.
They did their thing on the ground for sure. Helped out Nico. He didn't have a terrible performance, not a great performance, but obviously this Tennessee's team's identity is on the ground, and they were able to get that done. So I have Dylan Sampson.
I like that pick. I made a TikTok during this game. I said, it was at halftime of this game. I said that Tennessee had started their third straight game, scoring 0 points in the first half. That was the first time since, I believe, 1963. Don't quote me on that. Go watch the TikTok if you got the time. Like and subscribe here and there. Sorry, self-plug. But yeah. I also mentioned, Dylan Sampson is the guy in that offense. He is the engine that gets it all moving. And the second half encapsulated that perfectly. They got him going. He started rolling, found the end zone a couple times. Tennessee wins the game.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. No, if it weren't for him, who knows where they would be, honestly. He's still a young guy. He obviously is making some he's not a freshman, but he's making some freshman-esque mistakes. But with the ground game and the consistency that they're able to run the ball with, it really helps settle that offense down a good little bit. So they were able to do their thing and beat Alabama. And, now they're
alive.
It's all in front of them for the SEC championship, and Alabama is reeling. So hats off to them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll go next. Keeping it in the SEC, surprise, surprise. Wonder where the bias is coming from there. But anyway, just I got Caden Durham out of the LSU Tigers. I think this is my second dog of the week coming out of LSU, back-to-back weeks. But I didn't even realize this when I picked him. He's a freshman, little 5'9", 205, sturdy back. But anyway, he was the workhorse against Arkansas. 21 carries, 101 yards, 3 touchdowns with a long of 22. So, didn't really have too many explosive plays, but just, you need 4, 5, 6 yards in a cloud of dust, hand the ball off to Caden and let him take care of business, which is interesting because, as I mentioned last week, LSU has really been relying on the air attack with the gunslinger Garrett Nussmeier, who also had a pretty good day. 233 yards on 34 attempts, 23 of those were completions. Didn't find the end zone, though. So Caden's largest contribution was the 3 touchdowns they had. 3 out of the 34 points they ended up scoring. And then just to show how big of a game this was for Caden, like I mentioned, he had 101 rushing yards in this game. On the season, he has 382.
Wow.
So he had, somewhere between a third and a fourth of his yards in one game. And he also had half of his touchdowns in this one game. So huge game for him. Hopefully he'll continue it on to the rest of the season. But shout out to Hayden Durham. Sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think if LSU continues that trend of the ground, they're going to be dangerous. To pair with Nussmeier, he can sling it, obviously.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, and they're one of those teams who is undefeated in the SEC right now.
Yep.
So it is very much in front of them. So
if
they could be very good if they can keep that output going.
Yep. If they're able to add a play action game to Nussmeier's throwing ability,
yeah,
watch out.
Do
it's
LSU
dangerous, man.
and Alabama play this year?
Mm-hmm.
I believe they do. That's in a few weeks.
They've got LSU has a bye this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't. They're playing Texas A&M, and then after that they have a bye, and then they play Alabama.
Okay, that is one to watch for sure.
Oh,
that's a big one.
In Death Valley.
Ooh,
get into that. We will definitely get into that.
Yes,
absolutely. All right, I guess it's my turn. And as Brandon kind of alluded to earlier, this is a Georgia Bulldog, as you can tell by the sweatshirt. Gotta rep the alma mater. Going into the season, we were saying Carson Beck's the guy. Carson Beck's legit. Had a rough game, but the heroics of this man saved the team's ass and led to a resounding 30-15 victory. That would be Jalen Walker, the linebacker, defensive end hybrid. He's kind of a jack of all trades for that defense. He absolutely balled out against Texas. Let me pull up his stats quickly. 8 tackles, 3 sacks, and a fumble recovery. And you watch the replay of the game. Number 11 is in on every play, every defensive play for the first half and the second half. The whole fucking game, honestly. The man balled out.
Yep.
Honestly, made himself a shit ton of money probably with how he was playing.
Yeah.
I believe there was one play in particular he just straight bull rushed Texas's All-American left tackle, and tied up Quinn Ewers, forced a sack. It was absolutely incredible play. It's what Georgia has been missing all season, and there you go, first round talent.
Yeah, man. I think he definitely did himself a huge favor because looking at the NFL in the past few years, I think draft stock for edge rushers has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, you even seen it a few years ago with a guy out of Georgia by the name of Trayvon Walker, kind of a surprise first overall pick. It just shows you how much the NFL is skewing towards valuing edge rushers who can get after the quarterback and not even, you don't even have to have that big of a sack output, but just get in his face, pressure him, be there, have presence in the backfield. He had a hell of a game.
It's the difference between a good team and a great team.
Yes.
Your pass rush.
Pass rush.
Absolutely.
Just ask the Falcons. No, I mean, if he keeps playing like that, he's going to become a lottery pick very soon.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, cool. Those are our dogs of the week. Let us know in the comments what you think, who you would take as your dog of the week out of the performances this past weekend. A lot of choices to be had. Those are ours, however. Thank you for watching that. If you're watching in the short form. If you're watching in the long form, we're going to move on to some preview content. Which game do we want to start with? Do you want to start with, we can save Georgia for last, because I know we have some words about that. Do we want to start maybe with Tennessee, Alabama, unpack that a little bit?
Works for me.
You said recap or preview? I'm sorry.
Recap.
Recap. All right. My apologies.
Yes, sir.
I meant what you said.
Yeah. We can talk. Can we do Tennessee first?
Yeah, so I was just saying.
Okay. God damn it, Drew. Pay attention.
No, you're good, man. You got your stats up. I can see
sorry.
you. I can see the gears going.
I was definitely
We
pulling it up.
we have to appear that we know ball a little
That
bit
we
here.
know ball.
But
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not using a cheat sheet at all.
Absolutely not. You would never need it, and it's all up here.
Oh, never.
Anyways, we touched on this a little earlier in Dogs of the Week. Tennessee just kind of playing their brand of football this year, which is vastly different than a lot of expectations coming into this season. You know, the Josh Heupel offense in the past few years with Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker has been heavily predicated on the passing game, air raid, spread them out, put it downfield. This year, however, it is much more ground and pound, control the clock, minimize mistakes, play good defense. And Noah mentioned in the Dogs of the Week video, I think, what was that stat about going scoreless in the first half for, was it a 3-game stretch for the first time since, like,
63.
What year was it?
Or something.
Somewhere around there.
In the 60s.
Yeah, which is insane to see, especially from a Josh Heupel-led offense. But hats off to him. He has obviously changed the offensive game plan according to what he has. He doesn't. Nico is not Hendon Hooker or Joe Milton. He's not. Not to say that he's bad. He's just a different quarterback. And when you have talent like Dylan Sampson, and you're able to establish the run like that, you win football games. So hats off to them. They've changed it up completely and took down Alabama at home.
Yep. I mean, like I said in the preview, the key to Tennessee winning this game was getting a pass rush, containing Milroe, forcing him to beat you with his arm, and pray to God that Ryan Williams doesn't show up. And that's pretty much what happened.
I don't mean to interrupt. I think Ryan Williams had 19 targets.
Yeah,
that's insane, dude.
They're trying to force feed him.
One-dimensional, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put Milroe in a box and make him beat you through the air, he has tendencies, and I don't know. I'm not saying he's a bad processor, but he's not one to sit in the pocket and go through multiple reads before taking off. That's just not who he is as a quarterback. He hasn't been developed that far. He's not a bad quarterback. He's obviously very gifted with his arm and legs, but it's just not clicking right now.
Yeah. He has a beautiful deep ball, and obviously his legs are a great security blanket for him. But when you go up against the pass rush, like Tennessee has, South Carolina almost was able to take care of business with their front seven, but just couldn't quite get it done. But Tennessee is showing to be just a little bit better than South Carolina. But yeah, just to point that out, just looking at the Tennessee defense and what they were able to produce. I mean, they had 3 sacks and 9 TFLs. So I mean, all that tells me is that they were able to get in the backfield early and often and disrupt, the run plays as well as the pass attack, and keep Milroe contained. And sadly, I did look it up. We're gonna have to hear this all season because Ryan Williams' birthday isn't until February, so he's gonna be 17 the whole season. But no, I mean it was good. Like I said, didn't get a chance to watch the entire game, but I saw the important part where Tennessee won. So, but yeah, the 2 picks also came in really clutch for the Tennessee defense. Shout out to them. Yeah, they pulled the Vanderbilt, control the clock, get the turnovers, take care of business.
It's a formula against Alabama. Possess the ball.
It was really interesting as well to see that Tennessee offensive line kind of take control in the second half, really get a push on the Alabama front. It's not something we've seen often under Nick Saban, especially. Those Alabama teams were fast, they were physical, they would pretty much always get their blocks and get a drive. The running game was hardly an issue, as you can tell by the likes of Derrick Henry and the likes of Mark Ingram winning the Heisman Trophy at the running back position while Saban was there. But it's very interesting to see kind of Kalen DeBoer, the reaction to him, like he beats Georgia, and everyone is like, "This dude's the next coming of Nick Saban." Dynasty rolls on, and then here we are, about a month later, 3 weeks later, and it's what the hell happened? He's dropped 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I wonder how much of the blueprint was shown in the second half of that game. Since yeah, because since then they just haven't been putting teams away like they have in years past, even when they win.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, exactly. The formula is out there of how to do it, and they have not done the best job adapting and changing what they're doing to kind of escape that. And I think the further that we go in the season, the more glaringly obvious the coaching differences between Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban are. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer, offensive-minded guy. These are all Saban players. Now, that's not a bad thing, but with the offense that he's run in the past, it's different than what Alabama has done and recruited for on both sides of the ball. I mean, you bring in a new defensive coordinator as well. I believe they brought in a new defensive coordinator. It's just completely different. You have, he came in early this year, and obviously everything should be in place, but it still takes time and him to even get his guys and his recruits in there.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of shows, and he's still kind of coming into his own. I mean, I don't think he's has that many years of head coaching experience. I know he's had some at lower levels of football. I don't know whether that be Division II or whatever. I know he's won wherever he's been.
Yep.
This is, I think, one of the first times where he's come into, a position where you're playing this kind of talent so consistently. Not to say that he didn't play that kind of talent in Washington in the Pac-12, but as an SEC, as someone who grew up watching SEC football, it's built different. It really is. So I think it's going to take him some time to adapt, but those differences in how he's running the program are becoming very clear.
So he has only been a head coach at kind of this upper level since 2020 when he was hired at Fresno State.
Okay, I didn't know he was let go. My assumption was he had
hired. He left Sioux.
Oh,
yeah, I misspoke.
Gotcha. I was gonna say. Okay.
He was hired to coach Fresno State in 2020, and then stayed there for a couple of years, and then moved on to Washington.
Okay, so that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, before that, I mean, he won 3 national championships at Sioux Falls. Yeah, that's the NAIA level in 06, 08, and 09, and then he was also the runner-up in 07. And then he moved on to be an OC at Southern Illinois, and then an OC at Eastern Michigan, and then OC at Fresno State, and then Indiana, and then returned to Fresno to be the head coach. So
gotcha.
That's where the Michael Penix connection came in.
Yeah,
he was his OC.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he has been a winner. He's a good coach.
Absolutely.
A good program.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it still has marks of Saban on it, which is not a problem. It's just Kalen is not Nick. Like, that's just not how this works. So he's going to have to get his feet under him. And we assumed there would be struggles in his first year.
Yep.
No matter who the coach was at Alabama after Saban left. But I'm not knocking the guy, just saying he's got to figure some things out. And hey, look at Kirby Smart's first season at Georgia, right?
It's true.
It is what it is. You got to figure things out, get your feet under you, make the program yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not to knock his journey at all. Obviously, he's been a proven winner, but this is a different league.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he does moving forward. Obviously, getting his guys in there and establishing his brand of football at Alabama. Big shoes to fill for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do we think the ceiling is for Bama? Do you think they got a shot at the SEC championship game?
A lot of help.
Yeah.
And we could talk about.
I'm not even convinced they can.
When we have our recap or
mid-season
kind of check-in.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's do that. Yep.
Sorry, I got a little overzealous there.
No, you're good,
I'm
man.
praying on their downfall.
See, the the only reason that Brandon and I are so like, no, let's wait till later, because we did this last week and we recorded for an hour and 45 minutes.
That's fair.
Yeah, it was a chat.
Hey man, you gotta
Yeah.
chop
Yeah.
up, talk ball.
Yes,
I love
sir.
that. That's
It
cool.
No, I love it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It's just for editing purposes.
Valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
But yeah.
Who's next?
I think. Did we want to talk Miami Louisville? I didn't have that much. I watched that game. I don't know if y'all caught it. It was just more of the same, like Miami surviving another conference game. Cam Ward, he's ridiculous, dude. I don't think he'll win the Heisman just because of like quality of opponent, as opposed. Well, Ashton Genty's my leader, so I kind of really just contradicted myself. Yikes.
Yeah, but if he breaks Barry Sanders' record,
Yeah,
there is
exactly.
no way you
one's
can deny
on
that.
par to break a record that's been standing for almost 50 years, and the other one is the quarterback at Miami.
That's valid. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We could talk about it a little bit. I just wanted to get across, like, Louisville had a scoop and score touchdown that was negated by review that would have tied the game, and then, Charlotte stepped in, wiped it out, and from there it was over. So
Yeah,
I think they're
tough weekend for officials.
I think they're
If
fraudulent.
you need me to go talk to the ACC front office, I'll do it. Like, hey guys, listen,
Might as well.
this is bullshit. This is the third time now. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be lying if I said I watched this game,
That's fair.
but I did hear about it, watch some clips.
Mm.
Definitely suspect, but I don't know. I feel like some conferences. You put on your tinfoil hats here. I feel like some conferences that don't feel that confident in potentially their second or third horse in the race will make a deep run. I think they might have a history of helping out their leader.
Fair.
And in the ACC right now, that's Miami.
Yeah.
In the past, it's been Clemson.
It makes no sense to me because Clemson has been on such a run since the
They've been on fire.
They have been
Yeah.
rolling. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
I hear you, but what sounds a lot better? A Clemson and Miami conference championship game, or a Clemson and SMU conference championship game? Nothing against SMU, but like Miami would do numbies.
Go
Just saying.
Stanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what
Right.
you're saying. I get it. But
Like, you
I
have a
don't know.
sleeping giant blue blood in your conference that hasn't done shit since the early 2000s.
I'm just I
Yeah.
keep going back to that damn Virginia Tech game. That shit was robbed.
That was awful.
Ugh.
I don't know. I just think you got to go with the call in the field in that instance. But hey, that was almost a month ago.
Yeah.
We've
Well-
said our piece.
Obviously, we'll get into it more later, but obviously, the call on the field does not always mean anything.
Apparently not.
It is subject to change. Obviously,
Player of the game right here.
I think that's a good transition. Then, huh?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Unless y'all have anything else to say. For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, we're going to get into that in our recap of the Georgia and Texas game, which was the biggest story here, obviously, is Georgia's defense. Go watch our Dogs of the Week video if you haven't already. Noah's pick was Jalen Walker, and deservingly so. Carson Beck had a few interceptions. However, the Georgia defense played the best they've played this entire season. They kept Georgia in the game. They put them in position to score. They created turnovers. They did exactly what they needed to do for Georgia to win this football game. And they dominated the line of scrimmage. It was tough the whole first half. Texas didn't even get anything going offensively until the second half. They benched Quinn Ewers right before halftime. He came back out after halftime. So they definitely disrupted Texas's game plan for sure.
Yeah. I saw a tweet. Sorry to describe this through Twitter. This was when Quinn Ewers was benched, and I guess this tweet went out at halftime. Someone tweeted, Arch Manning came in the game and thought this was going to be a Disney movie. Not
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Hell.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because-
he thought his name
Yeah.
was Tua for a minute there.
Yeah, it didn't
Mhm.
matter
Guys,
who was in
I
the
got it.
quarterback.
It didn't
Prime
matter.
Tom
Yeah.
Brady could have walked out on that field. It would have been the same result. That offensive line was
Mhm.
getting battered.
They were getting eaten alive. I will say as a Georgia fan, kind of shit my pants when he had that like 20-yard run. I was like, if they're going to get
Yes.
anything going offensively, it is going to be through Arch's legs. Because if Kirby Smart's defense has showed their one kryptonite is a dual threat quarterback.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, they're going to keep running them, and they didn't. And I mean, obviously it's hard to run a quarterback like that when you're in the backfield so consistently.
Yeah.
Yep.
And having pressure on the quarterback. So, I mean, he had one big chunk play, but other than that, not much. Obviously, Sark was trying to get a spark out of his offense before halftime. I don't know if I even agree with doing that in the first place, though, if you're going to put Quinn back in after halftime. Just let him ride it out, recollect at halftime, go back into it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It didn't really matter, but...
Yeah, they needed prime Johnny Manziel back there to spark that offense in the first half. I mean,
Mhm.
just the party in the backfield that the Georgia defense had. I mean, with 7 sacks and 10 TFLs, that's
Absurd.
ridiculous. That is 17 plays that the Texas offense went backwards. That's not including
Insane.
penalties.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
It's one of the better performances the Georgia defense has had in recent memory, and there's been a lot of good performances by Georgia defenses. This reminds me somewhat. I don't know what the stats were; they probably were better, but that 2021 opener against Clemson and Charlotte reminded me of kind of a defensive performance like that. Except we actually had an offense that could score. So
yeah, I mean, I would say like against an offense this potent, leading up to this game. That's a good question. I don't know when the last one was that we
and I mean,
an offense like this in check.
Especially number one on the road, true road game. Obviously, as a Georgia fan, I can admit we haven't had in the recent past that many big like top 5 road games. The one that comes to mind latest was Alabama in 2020. Other than that, not really. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that game, but they came out. He did. That was a tough watch for sure. But I mean, to go on the road and for your defense to perform like that on the road is very impressive.
Yeah. The Georgia secondary also really stepped up. Dalen Everett had a forced
Oh my God.
and an interception.
Career
Julian
game
Humphrey
from Dalen
played
Everett.
well. Like
Mhm.
guys that we needed to step up, stepped up. Sorry, my bias is showing. I said we. I shouldn't have said that. But
I've said it a couple times too.
So
The
sorry.
people know what they're watching.
Yeah.
But I do agree the secondary big time limited like those big explosive plays. There was a couple, but for the most part, that was the thing that killed us against Alabama and some of these, even in Mississippi State. I know like that was a weird game down the stretch, but just these long chunk plays, and those weren't there because the secondary was playing well, and and Quinn had about a second and a half to get that ball off, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
And last but not least, shout out to the special teams. I mean, Peyton Woodring, 3 for 3 with a long of 48.
Automatic.
Thorson.
Yes, Brett Thorson, dude.
I love him.
4 punts for 216 yards, an average of 54 with only one touchback, and 2 of them inside the 20.
That's amazing.
I think he'll get drafted as a punter.
I mean, we won the. Not only did we win the game, we won the turnover battle. Did we win the turnover battle? It was closer than it needed to be.
That might have been close. I think we won it by maybe a couple, but we turned the ball over quite a bit in that game.
When your defense is playing well, you also need to win the field position battle, and that was obviously accomplished. So
absolutely,
yeah.
It was so refreshing to just watch us squeeze the life out of another team.
And it was an ETN career day too. You love to see it. On the ground, through the air, hat trick, 3 tutties. He's coming into his own. I'm a bit biased. I love running the ball. I wish we would have ran it a little more with him, especially in that fourth quarter to chew some clock. But
said the former fullback.
Yes. Hey man.
Yeah.
It's working for Tennessee. No, we run him obviously. So he's coming into his own quite a bit. Love the performance from him. Very gritty. running back Shifty too. So he's a great back. But we can, now that we're finished giving our roses, we can kind of shift gears into the final part of this recap and talk about what happened. The overturned call, not missed call. The snafu with the pass interference against Georgia was called on the field. Pass interference on the defense. Was it? That is up to you to decide, for anybody to decide. It was close. There was some back and forth. Maybe it wasn't. But that's what it was called on the field. And then the Texas fans proceeded to rain down beer bottles and whatever they had at their disposal onto the field, causing a delay in the game. Which, side note, I'm surprised there's not some kind of penalty for delaying the game as a crowd like that. That kind of baffles me a little bit. I don't know if there is one that you can enforce that should have been enforced or needs to be added that can be enforced. But they did that, and they had about 5 minutes to think about it. They're replaying it on the Jumbotron the whole time, and they come out of it saying, maybe we were wrong, and overturn a call that is not reviewable.
Yep.
So instant reactions. I know all of us were pretty livid. I'm not sure if you caught that live, Drew. I don't think you probably did, but
I didn't get
even in the aftermath of it, it was infuriating. I'm not saying that they got the call wrong. I'm just saying at that point you can't go back and change that shit.
Yeah,
you're setting a terrible precedent.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of an umpire, having a manager come out and chew his ass and be like, you know what? Maybe
You're
that
right.
was a strike. That was a strike.
I love that comp.
Yeah. Because now the precedent is, that didn't look like PI to me. And then all of a sudden we're getting a call overturned. I don't know. Yeah. I do agree. I think that'd be very interesting if it became like a what's the rule for a sideline infraction? Is that a 15-yarder?
It's something, dude.
It's 5. Okay, I think it should be something.
You get a warning.
I think it's.
You get a sideline warning, but like in that case, I don't think you get a warning. I mean, there's such thing as defensive delay of game when you're trying to clap and imitate the snap count or whatever to try to get the offense off. I mean, they delayed the game by at least 5 minutes getting all that shit off the field.
Yes,
I'm baffled that even if they do overturn the call, you just ignore the fact that they rained down beer bottles on the field and there was no consequence in the game. Obviously, they were hit with a pretty large fine, and honestly, that's kind of a cop-out for me because you can get your boosters and donors to pitch in, and nobody cares about that.
Oh, did you see they had announced that they were using facial recognition technology to identify people who were throwing shit on the field? And if they were students, they had their tickets revoked for the rest of the academic year. So, pretty stiff.
I think that's I think that's what the SEC office is mandating or mandates you do after something like that. If they'll follow through with it completely is kind of unknown. I think that's up to the hands of the university, but I'm hoping that is actually what's happening. Because there's got to be some kind of consequence. I'm sorry.
So you're saying take away the sideline warning and just go straight to what the second offense level is?
Yeah, I mean, if you're delaying, if they're throwing shit on the field and delaying the game, I find it hard to believe that's not a 15-yard penalty and a first down.
Right.
So a sideline warning is a warning, and then it's a 5-yard penalty, and then every subsequent offense results in a 15-yard penalty. If that's the precedent we're going for, unless you want to go for a delay game, which I believe is also 5 yards. However, I think this is more severe, so I would understand.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it being kind of in line with the delay of game, but there's also a factor of the
safety.
The danger that you're putting people, not even just the players, but like sideline crew, anybody on the sidelines in, that I feel like should be kind of elevated to a certain point. I don't know what they did a couple. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were some full beer cans being thrown. I'm sure not all of them were empty by any means. I don't remember what they did a couple years ago in that Tennessee Ole Miss game when they were throwing mustard bottles and golf balls. What if there was a penalty enforced in that? But I don't know. It just seems silly not to have something in game where you can say, you know,
Yeah.
you did this. This is what happens.
Yeah. I saw something that had like the actual rule, but back to like the sequence of events as it happened, right? Referees announced the penalty, and we could talk about whether or not it was a bad call or not. That is beside the point right now.
Mm-hmm.
They announced the penalty, enforce the penalty, mark the ball, and start the clock. The clock is running for like 10 seconds. They play the replay on the Jumbotron. They start throwing shit. Stoppage. They stop the clock. And then, that's when they have the chance to look at it and decide, ooh, wait, maybe that's not a good call. It's
Unheard of.
It's against the rules whatsoever. No matter what way you shake it. Like that, you can't do that. You can't go back on something after the ball's been spotted and the clock has run. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. On the flip side of the coin, I do think that potentially down the road, they could allow calls like that, depending on the circumstance, to be reviewed. If you want, like, if it's like, it could be a situation where if it's in the end zone, it's automatically reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Under the 2 minute timeout or something like that, or if a coach wants to challenge the call, I think you could see something like that. But as the rules are written right now, that's just not how it goes.
I mean, didn't we have that in the NFL a few years ago?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
with the
and it only lasts being able to review. It was pass interference, right?
Yeah, it was pass interference,
and that lasted for what, a year?
Yeah.
It just it killed the game. It slowed it down. I mean, you don't like the call? Challenge it. And at a certain point, it's a pace of play thing, and obviously, college football is trending towards a faster pace of play with the clock not stopping after first downs unless it's within 2 minutes of either half. So, whether the overall duration is different is yet to be seen because of the commercials, but it's trending towards kind of a quicker pace of play outside of TV timeouts and stuff like that. So, I could see it maybe if it's under those 2 minutes, it can be reviewed in like crucial situations. But even then, I know you make a good point. I hadn't realized that they spotted the ball and then the clock started running. That play's over.
Yeah.
There's no you don't go back to that. That's done. Especially when it's a penalty. It's been enforced. It's been marked. Let's play football.
Yep.
Now, obviously, I'm very thankful that it didn't really influence the outcome of the game at all. Had Texas came back and won it, that would have been quite a point of contention with many fans. But luckily, the Georgia defense played well enough where it kind of didn't really matter that much. So.
And the SEC statement was a cop-out. Did you see that? It is.
No, I saw the Matthew McConaughey statement.
Oh, I can read part of the SEC statement if you want me to.
Yeah,
focus more on the objects on the field, which is fucking ridiculous. Sorry, my bias.
Well, because they won't criticize their own referees.
No,
I mean, and Kirby's gonna get fined out the ass for what he said about they tried to rob us, is what he said in the post game interview, and he was right, and they're gonna fine him because heaven forbid you say anything bad about the officiating in any of these games.
Yeah, the sentence in particular. While the original evaluation and assessment of the penalty was not properly executed, it is unacceptable to have debris thrown on the field at any time.
That's all they mentioned?
That's it.
They didn't... yeah.
No mention of the ball had been spotted and the clock was winding and nothing. Just, they're trying to cover their own ass.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna... I don't know if they'll admit it, that they got it wrong. I know they do sometimes, but
yeah,
I don't know. That's just such a big fuck up in a situation like that where Texas goes down, scores, and makes it a one-score game.
Yep.
So,
I mean, if the outcome of the game was different, I think that obviously the outcry would be much larger. and I don't know if they'd be forced to alter the statement, but thank God it didn't. So
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Fortunately, didn't play into the outcome of the game. We would be having a completely different conversation if it had. I might not be on this recording right now, but
That's fair.
anyways, any more thoughts about the Georgia Texas game?
Just that.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I love it. Welcome to the SEC, Texas. Things are not getting easier. You're facing the next biggest juggernaut this week in Vanderbilt. So
Welcome to hell.
yes, welcome to hell.
In Nashville,
Yeah, that's proven to be one of the tougher environments in college football in the SEC, at least this season.
Let's check ticket prices for that. I have plans this weekend, but maybe one of you gentlemen can make the pilgrimage.
Up to Nashville. That's funny. Hey man, they're probably able to actually sell those tickets for a decent amount of money now. People want to go to the games.
I mean, it's cheap by Vanderbilt standards. You can get in the door for $150, $158. Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Vandy moving up in the world.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
All right, cool. I think that's all the preview we want to do. I don't know if there's anything else we want to touch on, but if not, we can get straight into the mid-season review of college football. We're heading into what week are we heading into? Sorry, week 8, week 9?
9.
Week 9. So we're sitting right around the midway point in the season, more or less. So I think what we're going to do is run down each conference, see what it's looking like, how the playoff is shaping up, because there's a lot of conference races right now, and we made a whole other video on it last week. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out on just the SEC, because there's so much shit going on in that conference right now. It's insane. So many undefeated one-loss teams that the race is wide open, and that has proven to be true for a lot of conferences in college football. So we're going to run those down and kind of see what the outlook is and what to expect for the rest of the season going into conference championships and the playoff. So I think we could probably start with one of the weaker, if not the weakest, Power 5 conference this season, the ACC. So
you don't want to do the American?
Army, we doing Group of 5?
Navy, Tulane.
I love them.
Army, Navy, Tulane, 6-0, 4-0, 3-0.
Let's start on that, because there is a group of there's a Group of 5 bid that is to be had, and Army and Navy are both very much vying for that. So we can start in the American, but we'll just talk about Army and Navy.
Just like the G5 race for the playoff. I think that might be the most.
We can lump it.
Yeah, we can lump it.
I'll start in the American though, and we'll hop back and forth to the contenders that exist in the Group of 5. We're not going to go through the Group of 5 conferences. No. We're not going to get knee deep in that, but starting out with the American in the Group of 5 conversation, obviously you have Army and Navy, who are both ranked, which is insane. 2 service academies who run the triple option are performing very well right now. Army is 7-0, Navy is 6-0. So both undefeated on the season, the only way they would be ranked. And Drew made a video or a TikTok on it where, with how conference championships and the Army-Navy game are set up, if you don't know already, Army and Navy play their yearly game a week or two, I believe, after conference championships are played, the weekend after. Yep. So there's a world where they both continue to play well and meet in the conference championship, and the week later they play in the Army-Navy game. But by that point, the playoff rankings are out. So it wouldn't really matter. But both teams playing very, very well. I don't know if either of you have anything to add on for Army or Navy.
Just want to say they both play Notre Dame. Navy plays Notre Dame. Navy hosts Notre Dame this
weekend. That's a good one.
And then Army will go to South Bend November 23rd. That game is already set for 7 p.m. But it is very possible for both of these teams to remain unbeaten in conference play for the rest of the season, as Army has to play Air Force, who Navy beat the crap out of, North Texas, and UTSA. And then Navy, real quick, has to play Food, South Florida, Tulane, East Carolina, and then, like I said, Notre Dame is this weekend. But
Yeah.
you know, Tulane's right there, guys. Too, but they're
Hey,
right
man.
there.
Don't sleep on them, man.
Don't you dare.
Army Navy. Just want to say, it doesn't really feel like a coincidence that the year after we have confirmed espionage in terms of sign stealing in college football, the year after that, Army Navy, they're both undefeated. So should we investigate the Department of Homeland Security? I think
They have insider information.
it's a little.
They need it.
It's a little too obvious to me.
Listen,
That's
man,
funny.
They need all the help they can get in years past.
No, I love our service academies. Those, I mean,
I love it, man.
they're just a window into football's past, both of them with the option, and it's just fucking incredible to watch them do what they do.
Yeah,
I would love for the Army Navy game to be a play-in game for the playoff. That would be so.
that
sick.
would be.
Yeah,
I
whoever
would
wins
love
this gets the bid. But there's another team out there that has something to say about that. Coming out of the Coosa,
I thought you were
the
talking about
Liberty.
the other one.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, I wish. I'm going in alphabetical order.
Okay.
The
Flames.
Yes, the Liberty Flames will potentially have a claim here if they do end the season undefeated, which is very possible for them considering they have one of the softest schedules in college football with Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee, UMass, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston State on the remaining schedule. The thing is, the only asterisk on here is one of their marquee games wasn't played due to hurricane. They were supposed to play at App State back in week 5, and they just canceled the game with no plans to make it up. Probably because it's not a conference game. But in my opinion, I think Liberty's on the outside looking in as far as the playoff bid, just because their strength of schedule is so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's technically the highest ranked group of 5, and even if you go undefeated, you could still be ranked below some of these other teams if your strength of schedule is deemed to be non-existent, like theirs is in this case. They would need some other teams to slip up, which is possible. So all they can do is put themselves in a position to be there. So can't fault them for that. But
not really anybody in the MAC.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, man, it's its own brand of football. But in terms of group of 5, I think the only other team to mention is the front runner, right?
2 others.
2.
Okay, go for
it.
And game of the week in the Mountain West this week, Friday night, UNLV, Boise State.
Yes.
Both have 1 loss. UNLV is 6-1. Boise State's 5-1. That game is in that big beautiful stadium in Las Vegas. It's going to be incredible.
I love that they play in Allegiant.
I do too.
That's sick.
That's
Friday night. Clear your schedules, boys.
Genuinely. Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, for anybody who forgot, Boise State's one blemish was to the current number 1 team in the nation by 3 points.
Yeah, they took him to a wire too. I mean, insane.
Genty's got a game of his life.
Yeah. UNLV lost to Syracuse by 3 as well. Not as strong as a loss, but if they beat Boise State, then I think they have a serious case here.
Mm-hmm.
It's valid.
Definitely.
And Syracuse, no slouch. They're 5-1.
No, Syracuse is not a slouch.
Kyle McCord.
We can look at it later, but just a little preview. Big Ten is not as definite as you think it is. They're in the ACC. They're in the ACC. I'm a fucking idiot. The ACC.
They were in the Big Ten, right? At some point, maybe.
The
Big East.
The Big East.
Basketball schools are back, baby.
So
I love it.
I'm so sorry. Wrong conference. I apologize. Oh, that's embarrassing.
Doesn't know ball.
Yeah.
Listen, I never claimed to know ball. At least I corrected myself. I didn't let the comments correct
You caught
myself.
it. Yeah, you caught it. You got in front of it. Put out a statement, an apology.
Better than the SEC.
Damn right.
You got that right.
All right.
But yeah,
But
I think
that
that's about it.
game of the week, or sorry, game of
Absolutely.
the year in the Mountain West. Sun Belt.
Yep.
I mean, you got the Raging Cajuns at 6-1. UL Monroe, General Booty himself. Is it General Booty? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. Yeah,
You're correct.
I mean, they're playing well. I just
Oh, he's
don't
not
know if
starter. Sorry.
anybody in the Sun Belt.
He's there, though.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody in the Sun Belt is playing well enough to get in over the teams we've already discussed.
That's
Because the
fair.
best
Nope.
Sun Belt team is ULM and Louisiana, with both only having one loss.
Mhm.
But it's not like their losses to Oregon. Their loss was to Tulane. So
Mm.
That's not a terrible loss.
it's not a terrible
No.
loss.
It's not. It's not the
Tulane.
number one team in the country, though.
No, it's not. So
I mean, as far as good losses go,
mhm.
you're not getting better than that. Especially going into their house and losing by 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially if Oregon wins out, you know.
yeah, which they very well could, which we will get into here soon.
Mhm.
But I think that wraps it for the group of 5 conversation there. A lot of players there. Obviously, a lot more meaningful football now that there is a spot for one of those teams. So you love to see it. Anyways, moving on, unless y'all have anything else to say about that, we're going to hop into the Power 4 and start with the ACC. We can run it in alphabetical order.
Thank you.
So, starting with the ACC, the 2 teams that you know are at the forefront of this conference currently are Clemson and Miami. Clemson losing their first game to Georgia. However, they have been on a bit of a streak lately, laying waste to all of their opponents that they played. I don't really think they've had a particularly close game even since that Georgia game. They've turned it on and have looked like vintage Clemson. And then you have the conference darling in Miami. They'd love to see him back up there in the mix at the top. I think Clemson actually is leading the conference technically because they are 5-0 in conference, while Miami is 3-0. However, they're both undefeated in conference. Miami with a few, more than a few scares. It seems like every game they have is a shootout, and it comes down to the last possession of the game. It's a 1-score game. It's exciting football to watch. However, longevity-wise, don't know how long they can sustain that one. And then outside of that, I mean, looking at this is a good refresher for me too, because I'm not in the nitty gritty of ACC football. Admittedly, that's my fault. Pitt's undefeated.
Yep.
Didn't know that. Don't know ball.
Yep.
Pitt is undefeated, and then SMU is 6-1 and is also undefeated in conference play, and that rounds out the undefeated teams within the conference. So there's 4 teams who are undefeated currently in the ACC within the conference.
It's a pretender, brother.
Yes. Pitt is the luckiest team in college football.
Beat Cincinnati by 1. Beat West Virginia by 4. Sorry for jumping in. Beat Cal.
No, you're
by
good.
No,
2.
you're good.
Banged up Cal team by 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it bounces back and forth between Pitt and BYU every week on who gets luckier.
Yeah.
But speaking of luck, Miami is 3 flags or 3 potential flags away from being 0-3 in conference play.
Yep.
I said it. That's a fact. They would be
The
down
conference
there with the
darling.
likes of they'd be down there with the likes of North Carolina, you know? Poor Mac Brown. Anyway.
JMU.
Poor Mac Brown. The man wanted to quit, they wouldn't let him, giving him the Lee Corso treatment.
You're not wrong.
No, I know. I made a TikTok about Lee Corso needing to retire 2 years ago. Love him to death.
They trot him out there. They almost wheel him out there at this point.
It's time to recycle the TikTok. I think it is.
It might.
I think it can do its rounds again.
Just gonna screen record it.
Repost it
on this day. But yes, looking at the rest of Clemson's schedule, especially in the ACC, they have no reason to be worried because they are off this week, so they will be able to recoup. And they take on Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. And then if they can get through those games, then they cruise to the ACC championship game because their last 2 games of the season are the Citadel and South Carolina.
Hey, now don't sleep on South Carolina.
No, I'm not sleeping on South
No,
Carolina.
I'm kidding. At that point, it won't matter. They're a non-conference opponent.
I mean,
I know.
To be fair, I said Syracuse was in the Big Ten, so no judgment here. But yeah, I mean Miami. Lord knows we're gonna get because they take Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse out of the Big Ten.
All I'm gonna say is Florida State has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
Yes, they do.
You know how much I would love that the second one of their season is against Miami, and honestly, the way that Miami plays, I could see it. But they'll probably boat race them. In all honesty, but
yeah, I would much rather be Clemson and only have it be on a bye this week and only have to really worry about 3 games as far as getting an auto bid.
Yep.
So, and then SMU, I don't know. Someone want to talk about SMU? I haven't really been following them since week 0.
I can.
Yeah, me either. I know Preston Stone got hurt, right? Early on.
Yeah. Kevin Jennings, I believe he's a true freshman, so you know what? No, he's a sophomore, sorry. Yeah, played in relief of the quarterback last year. Yeah, I mean, they lost to BYU, which we'll get to them later. They look good. Very quality loss by 3 points. Other than that, they've they beat Louisville by 7. That could prove to be a very big win. Everyone else, besides Nevada in week 0, they've kind of boat raced. Looking ahead, they got at Duke Saturday night, and then they have Pitt at home, Boston College, at Virginia, and then finishing out the regular season slate at home against Cal. So, very manageable schedule. I mean, we kind of brushed on Pitt a little earlier. They've kind of gotten lucky so far, in our opinion. So, could potentially be looking at 11-1.
I'm noticing none of the top 3 teams in the conference play each other.
Yeah.
Again.
That's going to be interesting if everybody wins out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami and then it's Clemson.
It's quality opponents, which I think if Clemson finishes undefeated, it's Clemson every time, right?
Yeah.
But
their loss was to Georgia.
Okay.
Is that how? I don't know if that's how it works technically.
I don't think.
I think it comes down to something more. It's not like a vibe check. Oh, their loss was better. It's definitely not that. Drew, I don't know if you have the rules or not. I'm sure it's actually something concrete that you can point to.
The tiebreakers are head-to-head win percentage. Head-to-head. What does that mean? Each team plays its conference opponents either 0 or 1 times. No shit. A team wins the tiebreaker if it plays all of the tiebreaker teams and wins every such game. Okay, so it's common opponent. That's so stupid. And then a common game. And then...
It'd be common game then.
Yeah, it'd be common game. And then strength of conference schedule. And then team ranking score by Sports Source Analytics, and then coin flip.
Oh, so there is a coin flip eventually.
There is. Oh, yeah. But the same thing happened last year with Clemson, Florida State, and Louisville, and it ended up sorting itself out.
It usually does.
Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina last year, because North Carolina lost Georgia Tech. So. Right.
Very nice.
Yeah. That's next? The ACC.
The Big 12 next?
Yeah, we can run through the Big 12. And I know we want to get into this because I know it seemed like there was some thoughts to be had about BYU. And also, so I'll run down the big players at the top and we can kind of digress and discuss what it looks like. The Big 12 currently has 2 undefeated teams. The first being BYU and then Iowa State. They were both 7-0 and both 4-0 in conference, perfectly matched, perfectly tied for first place in the conference. And then after that, you have a mixed match of teams that are 3-1 within the conference. Teams like Kansas State, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Colorado. And then further down from that, doesn't really matter in the picture of the conference. So we're probably going to leave it there. But
I just want to say, before we get into like the contenders, what the hell happened to Oklahoma State, Utah,
I was gonna say
Kansas, Arizona, all those
Oak
teams.
State was my preseason pick for the conference championship.
Yes.
What the hell, man?
Apparently,
Yeah, that's a good point.
People figured out, hey, if we stop the run, they can't do anything else.
It's fair.
Ollie Gordon is one man.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Even if you look at his individual stats, he also hasn't really been playing that well. Like even like the next gen stats, like it's not his fault if he's getting gang tackled in the backfield by 3 guys. Like, but
Yeah.
I mean that's not the case every play. But
No.
yes, Utah has been disappointing. Oklahoma State has been far more disappointing. But yes, as previously mentioned, BYU might be the luckiest team in college football. Not from a score perspective, but mostly just because how they've been winning. First of all, there have been some close games against the likes of SMU back in September. It was 18-15 final score, and then they just beat Oklahoma State 38-35 this past week. So, and it's also been not even the turnovers they're causing, just the turnovers that other teams are experiencing. It's not like BYU is winning these games. Baylor is losing the game. Oklahoma State is losing the game. SMU is losing the game. So, I don't know. I just think that they have gotten pretty lucky as far as that goes.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't even see the full game, but the game that they had this past Friday against Oklahoma State, that last second touchdown to put it away was pretty crazy. Just winning it in that kind of fashion, throwing it downfield, making 2 guys miss and score. I don't know how much time was left, but putting it away on that.
Not a lot.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's been a pretty crazy emergence in this conference. Not at all what anybody really expected, especially us. Looking, if you want to go back and watch our pre-season preview for the Big 12, feel free. However, it's not accurate at all at this point. With we mentioned Oklahoma State, Utah, preseason favorites, not really performing whatsoever.
I forgot to mention the rest of their schedule. I'm sorry. They head to UCF, they head to Utah, they host Kansas, they head to Arizona State, and they host Houston. So, I mean, I don't
Very
really,
manageable.
very manageable, but also with the way this conference has been going,
Who knows?
who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to take point on Iowa State? Or I've got them pulled up too.
I can run through their schedule. I don't have too much to add discourse-wise on the play on the field, but they play the rest of the way. They host Texas Tech, go to Kansas, they host Cincinnati, travel to Utah, and then end the season hosting Kansas State, which is their toughest matchup. The rest of the way, their only ranked matchup, a conference game with big. I was gonna say big conference championship implications the week before that happens. So that'll be a big one for them. But they're also another one that's very surprising to be sitting here and saying that they are currently 7-0 at this point in the season.
Yeah.
So I love it though. I love teams coming out of the woodwork and having good seasons like this. So I think it's good for the sport. Them, and I think the 2 big stories are them, and we'll get into it later, but Indiana. I love Indiana.
Yeah, I think Iowa State is the better team compared to BYU.
Yes, I would agree.
Consistency wise, but
they're a good defense. Anyway. I don't know, this team. Like I'm looking at them. I'm like, this is the type of team that just gets their skull caved in by some middling Big Ten team in the playoff. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
So Penn State,
or yeah, if Ohio State finds a way to lose another game, then there you go.
Yeah, they'd be outmatched.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I mean, I think so would BYU, but yes.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I would probably favor Iowa State in that BYU matchup as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more surprising one here for me, sitting near the top, is Colorado.
Yeah, they're hanging around.
They're hanging around. In a conference like this, all you got to do is hang around and be mathematically eligible to make the conference championship game. I mean, that's what Oklahoma State did last year. Pretty sure they had 2 ugly losses early in the season and then just hung around. Or
Yeah, man.
whatever. Who
That sounds
cares?
right. Something like that along those
It was
lines. But
something like that.
I will say this is the perfect conference for Colorado to be in that position because every other conference I feel like has such a defined top tier of teams where it's kind of
Yep.
in it like you're not gonna get there if you're not there already. But in this conference, it's very reminiscent of kind of how the Pac-12 has been in years past, where there's not a very defined upper tier. Everybody is kind of on the same level, and we're 1 or 2 weekends of chaos away from the picture being flipped on its head.
Yep.
100%.
I mean, Colorado, very, very manageable. I mean, I like you said, I don't think any of these teams are really that much better than the rest of them.
No, I think,
but
I mean, I'm not like, the biggest like Colorado truther, like, oh, hype man. I genuinely think that looking at this, if Colorado played any of these teams above them, that they would have a chance to beat them. There's no
Yeah.
game with any team above them that I would sit
Yeah.
there and say they can't beat them. So,
I mean, they
pretty
lost
crazy to
Kansas.
say.
Yeah, they lost to Kansas State by 3. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
nothing is out of the ordinary here. I mean, they've
And
got
they lost their first
Cincinnati.
road game, right? In Lincoln.
Mhm.
Week 2.
Yes, week 2. Thankfully for them, not a conference game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've got Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State on the
Manageable.
schedule. Manageable. I mean, Big 12's always been a fun one to keep your eye on down the stretch, but I think especially so this year.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Cool.
All right.
Moving
Google-
on to the other.
Google me.
The other. Google me. I win. He's not wrong. That's why he's tied for first place in the Big Ten. Pretty crazy to be saying that about Indiana at this point in the season. But hats off to Mr. Signetti. He has done what he's needed to do. I was talking with y'all earlier. He gives me like a Dan Campbell vibe. No bullshit kind of guy. Big football guy. And I love it. And Indiana has been a team where, they've kind of been up and down. The last time I can really remember them having relevance in this scale was the Michael Penix days, which has been a few years now. It makes me feel like Unk making that reference because it's been many moons since Michael Penix has been at Indiana. However, they're playing great football over there. It's one of the better storylines of the entire college football season, in my opinion. So they are tied to top the standings with Oregon, both 7-0 and 4-0 within the conference. And then you have Penn State at 3-0 in the conference, 6-0 overall. And then running down some other one-loss teams that are still in the mix. Obviously, you have Ohio State, whose only losses to Oregon, 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the conference. And then you have scrappy teams like Illinois and Wisconsin, who probably don't really have much of a chance at this point, but are still technically around.
I don't know, man. Bielema ball. I don't know.
Hey, I'll never count them out. Never count them out.
Hey, okay. God, they're at Oregon this week. I was about to say their schedule looks really good the rest of the way, and then I just see they're at number 1.
Hey, I will say, I like them to cover that because I think the spread is 25 points. I like them to cover. I have no delusion that they will win that game. It would be great for chaos in college football if they did, but that's a tough pull.
The lock
Brandon,
of the week.
That might be a communal lock of the week because I love that bet. Because
I love it.
Even Purdue had the opportunity to cover against Oregon the entire game. Purdue scores 1 touchdown. They cover that game. Like, to be fair, Oregon knows, listen, we don't have to do too much. We already have the feather in our cap. We don't need to win by 50 every game.
No. Just win. There's no style. There's no style points. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is they're at the point where you just got to win football games. I don't think they give half a shit about going out there and hanging half 100 on teams. So I find it hard to believe unless they just get completely dominated that Illinois will get beat by more than 25 points.
Yeah, because I mean, looking at Oregon's schedule, they are definitely. If I'm Dan Lanning, I'm like, gentlemen, listen, we treat every game as us playing at our best. However, the real season starts in December, right? Because hey, we already won our big game. The real season starts in December. We just gotta take care of business to get there. Because let's look at the schedule. They've got Illinois at home. They go to Michigan.
Ooh.
They host Maryland. They go to Wisconsin, and they host Washington. I'm sorry. If you really are Oregon and you are able to show up and play how you did last week and 2 weeks ago, you should be able to cakewalk through that schedule in your sleep. Dillon Gabriel could possibly not take another snap the rest of the season.
I agree. There's no excuse the rest of the
No.
way for them.
No, just Dillon Gabriel should become a automatic ball hander offer. But anyway, that's my piece on Oregon. They've done their job. There's no reason to. No reason.
Do you think they drop a game? Do you think they try to reinvent the wheel and drop them?
They shouldn't. But
the
I
Big
mean,
House is kind of.
I was gonna say
menacing.
that's a sneaky letdown spot is at Michigan.
you know how bad Michigan is
On offense.
But
They got a
still.
defense. They
on
got a defense.
offense. That's valid. That's valid. I mean, I said the same thing about Arkansas. Like, you know how bad Arkansas is.
I will say they do have a decent ground game, and
They do.
Boise State gave them. I'm not saying they have Ashton Jinsey back there, but Boise State gave them a scare on the ground.
The problem with Michigan is they're not leaning into the ground game. They are still trying to throw the ball. If they figure it out,
I agree. Just run the ball.
Yeah,
They
if they figure it out,
in the end zone.
if they figure it out by November 2nd, then maybe we can have a different conversation. But today, October 21st, Michigan sucks.
Yeah.
That's valid. I will say if they adopt like a Kentucky-esque style of play where they just possess the ball and run it, and they could beat Oregon at home. I think it's just they're not playing correctly. So probably won't happen.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the real conference winner here. Google me. Did we already go through their schedule? I don't think
Indiana? I don't think so.
Yeah.
They don't run into Oregon.
Nope. They
run into the other big bad team in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah. I mean, they still have to take care of business at Washington. The good thing is Washington has to come across the country. Then they head to Michigan State, and then they host Michigan. And then they have a bye before they play Ohio State. Just saying, it's at the shoe, but they do have a bye.
Might
and
catch
then
them in the look ahead.
Maybe, yeah,
For the game.
yeah, that's valid. That is completely valid. And then they close out the season with the Spoilermakers, who looked like hot garbage this past Friday.
That's fair. I almost took them as my lock to cover.
Yeah, so this wedding I was in, I gave the groom a free 4-leg parlay as his rehearsal dinner present.
That's
And Purdue covering was the only leg that didn't cash. So
that's tough.
It is tough, I agree. But it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
I don't really have much more to add on Indiana other than they could very easily be a one-loss Big Ten team. And that should be enough to get them into the playoff. Opinion.
It very well could be.
Who do you think wins the conference championship? Sorry, Brandon.
No, you're good.
That's about Indiana. Go ahead.
Let me take a look at this Penn State schedule real quick.
Yeah, let's go through Penn State and maybe Ohio State's remaining.
I just think they're so freaking fraudulent, dude. As always.
Which one?
Penn State. Always. We do this every year.
We're going to find out week 10.
Yeah, we are.
It ain't going to take long now.
Give them the night game. Do not make that a noon game.
Too late.
Fox.
Too late.
Yeah, I know.
That's locked in as big noon.
Yep. But hey, they get to go to Wisconsin at 7:30. Bing says nooner.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, the remaining schedule isn't much at all.
The remaining schedule should be very manageable. But hey, Minnesota, sneaky, week 13. But
yeah, that's one of their biggest road games left. That and this, they're on bye this week, but next week they play. Well, no, I'm getting my dates wrong. That is this weekend. They play Wisconsin on the road.
Yep. In the Big Ten bounce house, not to be confused with UCF.
Two separate things.
Two separate things. I mean, But yeah, Ohio State is. If Ohio State loses to Penn State, there's no way they're making the conference
No,
championship game.
no, no.
They become the Big Ten's Alabama, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah. No, I mean, at this point, looking at
losses.
everybody else's schedule, I think 2 losses in the Big Ten right now dooms you to not make the conference championship just because of Oregon's remaining schedule, and then if you lose to Penn State's remaining schedule, and then even Indiana, I don't think you get back in that mix.
I agree.
So, I mean, big spot for Ryan Day. I think coming into this season, we were talking about, if he can't get it done this season, I mean, get it done is a relative term, but he was set up very well. Obviously, dropped a super close one against Oregon, but if he doesn't right this ship, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what it takes to become a great coach is not, oh, can we win every game on our schedule? It's, can I rally the troops after a heartbreaking loss to right the ship and carry on like we still are a top 2 team in the nation? I think that is
exactly.
what he needs to do. That is exactly what he needs to do to beat the allegations. Like, if they are able to turn things around and take care of business and take care of Penn State and take care of the remaining teams on their schedule, and hopefully that is enough to get them into the conference championship, which it should be, because if they win out, that would also give Indiana a loss. So everything that they have on their minds is very much in front of them. They just need to go ahead and take care of business. But if they can't, then I think the Buckeye faithful get a little tired of good old Blackbeard up there.
Yeah, I think they might already be getting there.
Yeah.
Depends on who you talk to, but yeah, he needs to do what Kirby Smart has done with Georgia. Obviously, a lot of football left for Georgia, but you lose to Alabama, and then you bounce back, go on the road, beat Texas. Obviously, he has the chance to do that and go on the road and beat Penn State. So that's the big one. They got to win out.
Yep.
At this point. That is what it is for him. So.
I agree.
Very nice. If there's nothing left in the Big Ten, we can go ahead and round out this mid-season review with the Southeastern Conference. Like we said before, there's a whole other video on this last week. This will be an updated version, but if you want to go see our thoughts on it last week, it was about 20 minutes of ball talk, so it'll be more in depth than this. Feel free to go check it out. So, yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and run down the standings of the SEC now. If you haven't been in tune with the SEC up until this point, it might be a little surprising to hear the teams that are currently at the top, because while they're undefeated in conference, they both have 1 loss overall. Now there's no undefeated team overall in the SEC, period, after Texas lost this past weekend against Georgia. But sitting atop the conference currently is Texas A&M, 4-0 in conference, 6-1 overall, followed by LSU, who is 3-0 in conference, 6-1 overall, and then you have Georgia, who's 4-1 in conference, 6-1 overall, Tennessee, who's 6-1, 3-1 in conference, and then followed by a couple more 1-loss teams. You have Missouri and Texas, both 6-1 overall, 2-1 in conference, and then Alabama all the way down at 2-2 in conference and 5-2 overall. From the outside looking in, same kind of spot as Vanderbilt. Alabama right now has the same record as Vanderbilt.
Hey man,
Wow.
Vanderbilt has less conference losses than Alabama. Put some respect on their name.
Vanderbilt is a spot above them in the standings.
That's right.
Alabama is not the same as Vanderbilt. They're worse. They lost to them head to head. So there you have it. What a season for SEC football.
Vanderbilt has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
That's the best resume in the country. If they beat Texas this week, they did something that Georgia could not. Now they got both of them at home. I understand that, but still, I think it's snappy for the title. Vanderbilt better than Georgia.
I don't think anybody is going to sit here and claim that Vanderbilt has a dominating home field advantage.
No.
But
good point.
They have Diego Pavia, which
that's all they need.
They counteracts that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But the top of the the top of the SEC is going to shake itself out this weekend. Texas A&M and LSU do play each other.
Yep.
Problem for LSU, it is in Kyle Field.
Oof.
So 7:30 kick,
Yeah.
prime time, baby. Yeah.
That is currently. I'm trying to get the line up here. I don't know if you have it, Drew. 2.5 in A&M's favor.
Yep.
about
As it should be. Yep.
And according, if you like ESPN analytics, which you might not, it's not the most accurate thing always. However, take this how you will. A&M is has a 52.8% chance to win this game, so pretty close. Given LSU a good shot.
Yeah, without the 109,000 Aggie faithful yelling in Garrett Nussmeier's ears, this would be a pickup.
Yes,
it's valid.
Yeah.
Neutral site, definitely.
100%.
I think
but
we would be talking about. I said this a few weeks ago. I might sound like a broken record here. We would be talking about Texas A&M so much differently if they had just won that game in week 1 against Notre Dame.
Yep.
Since then, they've looked very good. I mean,
Yes.
41-10 against number 5 Missouri. It's impressive.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to win this week because that home field advantage at Kyle Field is the real deal.
Dog, LSU just went into Arkansas and took care of business. What are you talking about?
Just saying, man.
Because those are the same things.
Absolutely are.
I don't know. I don't know. I like LSU. I think they're riding high. Obviously, I believe Texas A&M is coming off of a bye, which is good for them. I believe that's the case. Let me double check that.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think they played this past weekend, or at least I don't remember they did.
Yeah, they're coming off a bye.
No, guys, they played Mississippi State.
Georgia played Mississippi State last week.
They played Mississippi State 2 days ago.
Shit.
Well, that might as well be a bye.
Yeah.
That's valid. All right, so here's what we know. Syracuse is in the Big Ten. Mississippi State is now a bye. And what was Brandon's snafu? Did he have one? Is he perfect so far this video?
I'm probably far from it. We probably just didn't catch anything, but we'll grind the tape and we'll find something afterwards and we'll edit it in. But anyways, a lot of teams toward the top here in the SEC and going to change rapidly. Obviously, Texas A&M and LSU play each other this upcoming weekend, the marquee matchup of Saturday. And then Texas A&M plays Texas and LSU plays Alabama remaining on their schedule. So it's not even like, this game is a play-in for the SEC championship. You still have to turn around and face a formidable opponent. And, looking at the other teams up towards the top, I mean, Georgia wins out, they're in. Yeah. Tennessee wins out, they're in. They play each other. Obviously, both can't happen, but they play each other. I don't know about Missouri. I need to pull up their schedule real quick, but they play Alabama. Yeah, this week, actually. So there's probably going to be a lot more movement in these rankings very, very soon.
The funny thing, if Texas wins out, it's not really cut and dry that they make the SEC championship game. Because if Missouri wins out, you'd have to go down to the lower level of tiebreakers to figure out what that would look like. But I'm just saying, from a bird's eye view, it's not that cut and dry.
No, it's not. I mean, and you also have the reality of, say LSU goes into College Station and wins, and then they get Alabama at home and, struggling Alabama and beat them. I mean, there's a likelihood that they win out after that. So, I mean, nothing is really guaranteed right now, even for, Texas if you win out. So, a lot of different scenarios. We made a video a few weeks back about, there could be 3-11-1 or 4. Was it 3 or 4?
It was
4 11-1 teams, and it aged very well for about a week, and then it went sour.
I mean, it's still possible. Just change the logos.
It is completely changed, but it's still possible. And that's what happens when you abolish East and West in the SEC. No divisions, straight up. So we could have a lot of wacky scenarios. But, usually looking at conferences that have been divisionless for the past few years, it does work itself out most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you want a more in-depth analysis, refer to our last week video.
Yeah, that's still probably pretty relevant at this point. But
yeah, because really the only shakeup was Texas losing, which we talked about. So
yes,
yep, okay, I'm cool with the SEC.
Yeah.
There you have it. Those are our thoughts, our little mid-season review. Let us know in the comments what you think the outcomes of these conferences will be, who you have in the championships, what you think the playoff even will be. We might have to start giving some playoff predictions maybe, or we can bring back, I know last year we did some live reactions to the playoff ranking shows. Those were fun, so we could run some of those back for sure, but it's going to be a lot of fun these next few weeks of college football. Playoff rankings aren't even that far out, probably about, I don't know the exact date, probably around a month. I'm pretty sure they start doing that sometime in November, so it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, thanks for hanging out and talking some mid-season recap